Good afternoon, everybody. For those taking learner support in social sciences, welcome to this part of the presentation. This presentation is going to be quite short because this module is also quite short, and it's one of the modules that I think are quite easy to understand, but also easy to fail if you are not putting more effort on it. My name is Benjamin Nathaniel. I'm tutoring I'm a tutor for this module. Just to quickly give you the overview of this module, it's really just learner support. It's as you are going to teach. That's why this module is offered in year 4. As you're going to teach your students who are taking social science or who are at upper primary level. So the point is really how do you make sure that you take learner circumstances into your teaching. You will find out that not all the learners will have the same level of understanding. Some will be slower, some will be faster, some have visual sort of challenges, audio challenges, but also some just got cognitive challenges. Those are the things that we are going to look at. But let me quickly just introduce the course. This course is learning support in social sciences. It's a small course under the Bachelor of Education, Senior Primary, and it is only 8 credits. You saw that most of the other credits, most of the other modules are either 14 or 16 credits. This is quite a small one because it's really just to focus on your, to equip you now that you have known all you have mastered all the social sciences modules. How do you now consider learners, your learners as you teach? Yes. The assessment for this module, you are going to write the assignment. Unlike for most other modules, this one is 100 marks, and you get 50 marks to qualify for this module. And then you write your exam out of 50 also, out of 100, and then of which you require 50 marks. And then the final pass marks is 60% of exam and 40% of your CA. Just for an overview again, this is, I'm not going to stay for long here because this is really now something that you should be understanding by now if you have taken all the social sciences module. It's just really how do we place the social sciences into the education system. But the education system, because it's so big, especially at this upper primary, which is from grade 5 to 7, how do you make sure that the translation from lower primary, which is 1 to 4, and upper primary are matching. So students here actually are trained to be able to know broader things about other regions, about where they come from, about the environment. So really, it's just somebody now start to question things, and that's why most people who are social scientists are people who question things, and they can easily become philosophers. If, for example, from grade 12, this person tried to take a philosophy course, start to question things, and the relation between poverty and crime and war and all these type of things. These are the things that we put an emphasis when we were in other social sciences modules, but this is actually a different area now. But for learner support now, like I said, you are a teacher or you are becoming a teacher very soon. So if you have read the policy, our education policy before the one that was adopted in 1992, the other one was so teachers centered, and now you have this one which is learner centered. So we are saying the students or learners at school, there are conditions that are in class just from who that student or who that learner sits with. If you see from your sitting arrangement, students must be seated in a way that you know that there is not much disturbance in class. But even at home, some learners, for example, are coming from houses where there are conflicts or gender-based violence, or maybe it's poor. You come home, you come to school, you did not eat, and you are putting that, and there's another learner who is coming with some food. So sometimes the concentration of this learner changes. So, but not only that, even the language, even the learners here, in the school environment. So these are just some of the things that you should be looking at when you are with your learners in school. So that's why, as you prepare your lesson for that for during your lesson preparation, you must consider your learners and also think of visuals. Toward the end there, I just put some of the maps which I've already used in other classes. That, for example, how do you use visuals? Just to put visuals, then just you talking all the time. So some learners capture well through seeing. Some learners capture well through hearing. So how do we combine these two? But before I go to those maps, because I said this is a very short presentation, I just want to introduce you to what the world is also thinking. The word of this is sustainable development goals. We have 17 of them, of course, but I want you to introduce, or to pay attention to goal number 4, which is talking about ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education for all. So this is a UN, United Nations report. So this is a global goal, and this is what they have to say. If you look at that, what is in red there, that is now in green. It says the bad news in education is that poverty and armed conflicts and other emergencies, it's taking many kids out of school. And then there is even that says in developing regions, kids from poorest households are 4 times more likely to be out of school than those from richest houses. So you see how sometimes it's not only to be out of school, but also not to perform very well, because some of the things that if we don't have that inclusivity in your teaching to accommodate learners from different needs, that's when some learners will pull out because they don't feel appreciated. Some learners will be there but they aren't concentrated, and that's the whole part of learner support in social sciences. As we go down, most of these or your questions from these modules will really be like, you'll be given scenarios and say how would you help such a learner. If this learner, for example, was performing very, very good for 6 weeks, and then boom, the learner is completely weak. So how do you go around helping this learner? Or the learner started to sleep in class, or the learner started to beat other students, or the learner started just to be late to coming to school, or just to become antisocial. So how you prepare this module? Of course, you have your study guide, but be open to situations that are likely to be experienced in schools. But also go through the policy that we have on education now, which is also talking about the learner-centered education. That says now the teaching should no longer be just what a teacher feels, but to put also the learner conditions in consideration. But what he said, what the report on global, on this certain development goal is saying, is also somehow resonate with what our NDP 5 is saying, because also in NDP 5 here we have a theme on social progression. You need to read these documents, because these are the documents that tells what the direction the country wants. You have the Vision 2030, of course, for Namibia, but the Vision 2030 is it's 2030, of course, is far. So here we are talking about the the plan that we have now. This is until 2022 from 2017. It's a 5-year plan. So here we are, for example, saying it's still almost these challenges. Those were challenges for the whole globe, or was worldwide challenges. But as you can see, also here a challenge for Namibia is the same. We are saying poverty and its associated challenges of a greater likelihood, like illness, maternal health, okay, children being to another household and what, extended family, all undermine the child access to continuous education. Okay, but look at the last paragraph. It says poor quality of school environment make teaching more difficult and less enjoyable than ideal. So in inadequate teaching materials at all levels of basic education affect education quality. So including your own innovativeness, how can you make sure that you come to class and make sure that the kids are happy when you come to class than being scared? Kids must be happy when you're coming to class. Be able to play some videos for them that are actually on the subject. Take them to the counselor's office one day and let them be taught about governance, or bring the a counselor or a governor to a school. So this type of things are the one that raise the moral of the kids as you teach. Really, that is just to say a little bit reflect on the course outline. As I put together the course outline, it's basically just learning support in all aspects of studies when it comes to social science. So all these things that are learning support in the barriers are those when we're talking about the cognitive, the visual, and the audio. But all those subsequent topics are actually just talking about learning support in things that they have done already from social science 1 to social science 6. So learning support in space, in map work, orientation in space, learning support in history, learning support in geography and environment and population, learning support in issues regarding to technology and communication technology, learning support in issues regarding to HIV, learning support in the issue of economies, world history, all the things that you have been teaching, being taught over the past 3 years. It's now how do you support your learners? So you need to know, of course, or able to remember all the things that they've learned, and now it's just about how do you apply this into to support your learners. I just put some visuals here, for example, to say if you are working on what countries colonized Africa here, somebody might be able to one learner might be able to visualize it nicely in a map and conclude that it's actually Great Britain, even if your map is on the board that very far. Or somebody can say, no, Great Britain colonized most countries in Africa. But somebody who probably the visual is not really that, maybe say is France. So but maybe somebody like as you teach, you might also then want to put it in a table. But here I do not put all the table. It's just to say, okay, how many countries are taught, so that you have different angles of teaching your students. The rest are just really just visuals for you to that you need to put. I've already shown these visuals in other modules. It's just the visuals, and also this is not an essay itself that you experience or expect, but long answers. You will be coming. There will be time when you have answers that will require a little bit more question. Long answer like a whole page. So you just to pay attention for you to say if there is an answer like that. Please always try to follow the structure of an essay and try to bring, especially when the question is asking about discussion. Yeah, as we reach the end of the presentation, this is just about other features that you need to look at when you're writing, the language coherence, the critical thinking. Like I said, in this part, you need to consult policies. In fact, you are already toward the teaching, or you are already teaching. You need to know the policies, education policies, the national priorities. Like I said, I introduced you to the national development plan. So you need to be able to understand things of that nature. Right. Verbs in question, that's applicable to all the questions that you answer in your as you encounter these questions. You must be able to pay attention when somebody says list. You really list. When you say explain, demonstrate, evaluate, discuss, contrast, compare. There's a lot of all those words should be in your first few pages of your study guide. You just need to revisit them. But definitely you've been seeing all those words. The good thing with you now at this stage, you are in 4th year, so you have the basic understanding of all of the way the questions are being asked. And of course, last time that I have marked learners I mean students who are taking this course, I think the pass rate was really about 90%. Only few people who could fail maybe because they're not paying attention. But really just still, there's a module that is just trying to consolidate all your past, what you have learned in the past modules, and how do you make sure that you take care of your students as you teach them, mindful of their circumstances and mindful of what the government or what the country wants. Right. Plagiarism cannot be overemphasized. I just put this slide on so that you know at this stage in the 4th year, your chances of getting a 0 is very high, because maybe in the first year somehow one can tolerate plagiarism because we are still coming in the system, but doing it here, I'm sorry, 0 is really for sure. You need to make sure that if you have used somebody else's, whether in your assignment or in your exam is almost unlikely to copy everything from somebody else, because unless you are cheating. But these are just to emphasize that at this stage the tolerance for plagiarism is very, very low, or almost 0. Thank you very much for your participation. This module is it's done, but please, if you still have some questions on what scenarios you expect to be part of the exam, find me on my email or on my phone, and let's just try to engage and also try to keep a very good sort of interaction. I really wish you 100% pass in this module. It's a very, very small module. It just needs you to be very attentive to details and also take your time.